Welcome back, bro.
Glad to be
It
here.
was about a year ago, I think. I was actually watching it. I think April, around there. It's about a
Yeah.
year. You
Yeah.
were like in the range of like 10 episodes or so. Um,
What are you at now?
I'm at 63, and I'm working on like a solo episode. I'm doing some bunch of. My mind's all over the place, man. That's the thing of like being a guy. Is like my head is in a million different places at once. You know, I got the podcast. That's a lot of fun. I want to create content. I'm doing like things on the side. I want to read. I want to journal. I want to do a bunch of things. Like it's crazy. I almost feel guilty about that sometimes. But yeah, man. Like I don't know if you feel like that. Like your head goes in a bunch of different places, especially when it's things that like I want to do. If that makes sense. Like instead of work things, like obviously you want to work and make money for your family and whatnot. But I go into these like almost tunnel vision things with different ideas and different. I don't know. It's a weird thing, and I always wonder like, how do other people do it? You know what I mean? Like
I'm wondering how you do it.
I don't know. I really don't know. Like I come home. You know, we get the kids ready around 6:30, 7 o'clock. Finish dinner. They go to bed around 7, and Claire and I just hang out. We talk on the couch, and then before we know it, it's bedtime. But in those like 2 or 3 hours that we're awake, I'm playing a video game. Like MLB The Show just came out, and I'm just really heavily into that. I should be editing a podcast, or I should be working on a piece of content. It's like you almost feel guilty about doing the things that you've told yourself you're going to do, but then you don't do it. Anyway, I get on my soapbox. What's been going on since you've been here about a year ago?
Work and a little bit of fun. Family's growing. Just celebrated my daughter's 5th birthday
Nice. What
this
day?
weekend,
Yeah.
Sunday the 23rd.
Sweet.
Yeah,
My son turns 5 in a month.
yeah. It's
My daughter turns 3 in a month. And here we are, expecting another baby.
yeah, man. Congratulations.
It's crazy, bro. Like, you have how many? You have 3 or 4?
We're working on 3.
No. I'm sorry. You have for siblings, so it's you, Tori, Max.
I'm the oldest of 5.
You're oldest of 5, so you come
Yeah.
from a big family anyway.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I heard some woman talk on TV the other day. Her mom and dad had 18 children, which is insane. Could you imagine having 18 kids?
No.
Like, how do you?
God bless them, man.
Bro,
God
that's
bless 'em.
insane. I couldn't imagine having 18 kids. I could imagine 18 siblings. Like, that's insane. Like,
How do you remember all their names?
how do you not kill each other? Like, that's a lot. That's a lot. So you're working. You got a lot of stuff. You know, obviously the business seems like it's going really well. Whenever I see stuff with people like, oh, you know, who's the tree guy? You get tagged and everything.
We're very fortunate.
yeah, that's awesome.
Everyone has our back. I feel the love for sure.
Yeah. So what's going on, man? I feel like you got some stuff you want to talk about.
Yeah, man. I'll be honest with you. On the way over here, just a little bit stressed.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? What's going
Well,
on?
just work.
What-
Trying
so
to
what-
rush over here, not
Well,
to
thank
like
you.
put it on you.
Thank you,
And I apologize for being late.
No,
but
don't, bro. Listen, I was just putzing around.
as things get better, man, they get worse.
What do you mean?
And as they get worse, they get better.
Remember Tuto Pasa?
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I'm trying, and on my way here, I was even praying, trying to remind myself, like, got to be grateful for what's going on. And
So did you feel like there was a little bit of anxiety in you taking away from work being here? And with like,
not
okay.
even so much work, but the family.
Got
I
it.
sprung it on Jessica a little bit late.
Got it.
Should have been a better communicator.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not just today.
Yeah.
And we just got back from vacation.
Yes,
which
yesterday,
was,
right? Or 2 days ago?
on Monday. So yeah, 2 days ago, and we had the best time. But
Sure.
now you're running a business, you pay for that.
Right.
You take that time away, and now I'm back to the thing. And this weekend I should have been getting A, B, and C in line, and now I'm playing catch up. So
Okay. So do you want to end now?
yeah, let's go. I got to get out of here.
She said she's here in Salem, so you know she can pick you up. But I think that's so the communication piece. I agree. Like I've gotten better at communicating. A lot of that has come because of just really trying to be more empathetic with people in general. The last minute springing on, I do that all the time. Like, hey, by the way, I'm bowling tonight. Or, hey, by the way, and it's kind of do it out of selfishness, not on purpose, but it's just like, it's not going to be a big deal. It's not. It never is a big deal. It's just like, it does take away a little bit. I don't know. How do we change that? Do we accept that about ourselves? It's always the question that I ask. Like, do I change this, or do I accept this about myself and kind of move forward? Like, I think that we go through life and we try to make some really big changes, some good, some bad, and we can kind of go through that, whatever we want to talk about. But I think, like, for example, waking up early, right? I want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'll do it once, and I feel great. It feels awesome to do it. But then I don't do it again the next day or the next day. And the reason I want to get up is because I want to pray, I want to meditate, I want to work out. But then you don't do it, and then I'm hard on myself. Like, man, I said I was going to do it. Why didn't I do it? So I feel like we put this weird pressure on ourselves instead of saying, like, let's kind of accept our flaws for what they are. You know what I mean?
I do. Definitely got to work on your flaws, but certain ones are who you are.
Yeah.
I noticed that I'm constantly evolving out here, growing a lot, which is not easy. Growth is hard.
It's not supposed to be easy.
Yeah. If it's easy, you're probably not growing. You're just staying where you're at.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I gotta mentally accept that. And most days it's good, but, and I was trying to have such I'm like, oh, I got to do the podcast. I got to be in the right mindset.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that I can come here and express, because we wanted to, wanted to talk about, one of the topics was men's mental health.
Yeah, this kind of stuff,
which I feel is really important to talk about. Quit playing footsie sitting down there.
Sorry.
But no, men are killing themselselves at drastic rates.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it is because we don't talk. Mm-hmm. We don't express ourselves when we're having a bad day. I could have just been like, oh, today was great, and went about it, but
you mask it.
And we talked about that with imposter syndrome a little bit. And you put on this face because we got to be strong. We got to be strong for our families. Sure. But, I'm okay with being vulnerable and letting it out there.
Yeah. It's hard because it rears its head. It's rearing its head now as an adult, middle-aged adult, having a family, having children, being married, running a business, being a public figure, in our communities. Like, people know us. So we always want to operate on this level of this prideful level. Like, this is who I am. You wear your name on your shirt every single day. I'm pretty sure maybe even at the parade, the St. Patty's Day parade last week, you were on your truck.
Got the trucks, yeah.
And we wear this, and I don't know. I guess I don't really know the answer to why do we feel like and I'm not saying you specifically, and I think it's maybe a subconscious thing, but like the need to appear like everything's okay.
Well, that's our world, with Facebook and Instagram, and they only put out their best stuff, Yeah.
Sorry. And for the record, everything is okay. Like, I don't mean it in this like really dark thing, but from a standpoint that men aren't, like you said, vulnerable, and being able to just be like, hey, like, this is why I did this, or this is why I act this way. There's just no outlet for it, I guess. I feel like this kind of creates that space. And I've had really good conversations with men regarding this. Like, even with Frank, who he just dropped his album, 2 weeks ago on his birthday. And his album was all about vulnerability and what he had gone through from the last 2.5 years, beautiful trauma, kind of unpacking things that really has kind of reared its head in your 30s. Like, it's really crazy. It's a really wild concept that I'm not educated enough to understand, but you just kind of go through it. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't feel bad about it again. I've gotten to that place that I don't really feel bad about it, but it's also like what needs to be changed, I think, is the hardest part to define of who we are. What, is it the, drinking? Is it smoking? I don't smoke, but I used to smoke a lot. I used to smoke a lot of weed, like really. And I actually stopped on accident. You know what I mean? I didn't stop on purpose. I didn't say, I got to cut this out. I stopped because people started lacing it with fentanyl. I'm like, yo, I don't want to die. You know what I mean? Like, where I was getting it from, I was just like, I don't, listen, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to die. I have a kid now, wife, like, cold turkey just stopped, and it wasn't an issue. Like, you know what I mean? But it wasn't. So, you know, there's like these things that I think that we need to change on purpose. Things need to change on accident. I just don't feel bad about certain things, though. You know what I mean? Like, I am who I am. You know what I mean? That's just kind of where I'm at in life so far. And
Yeah.
maybe one of these things will force me to change.
Yeah. And I know we believe that someone else has plans for us, you know, and, you know, he's going to change us and give us those challenges to overcome, to change us, or put a roadblock in our way to make us open our eyes and go, all right, man, it's time to change.
What's your walk been like since we last talked?
So we touched on it, and see you're having your beer. I'm gonna crack my cold seltzer. Actually we were back here in April, and that's roughly about the time I stopped drinking. Gave up the alcohol. It's been great.
Yeah. Why? What made you give it up?
To be honest with you, it wasn't a everyday habit, but when I was doing it, I was doing it.
Getting after it.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
We got a wedding, parents' night out.
Yeah.
Going hard, you know.
Yeah.
And it was just a change I made, and I kind of, not an accident, but I'm like, all right, I'm going to stop for like a month. And then I started rolling with it. And those first months are hard, man.
I was about to say, was that hard?
Yeah, not to make it like I've done much harder things in my life.
For sure. I mean, like, the weed was hard for me. Like, even though it was like, damn, like I really want it right now, but I'm not going to get it.
Yeah. You give up those crutches, you know, those things are, you know, after a long day, you're like, man, today was tough.
Yeah.
Crack a beer.
Right.
It gets a little bit easier. Yeah. You know?
Right.
And when I stopped.
You look great, by the way. You actually look really good.
Appreciate that. Yeah. Thanks to the carnivore diet too, a little bit.
Yeah.
I had time to get the cut.
I need to get mine tomorrow.
Yeah. Man. Yeah. Luckily, because I sent you the picture of me looking like Sasquatch. Yeah,
that's going to be the cover of this podcast art. So it's going to be your face.
what he really looks like. You know, I had to mask it up.
Yeah.
But no, you know, when you stop drinking or stop smoking or whatever, you get rid of a vice in your life, you have to deal with life.
Sure.
You know, 'cause you can't escape it. And that's what I've grown to do. And initially it's very hard because all those emotions come flooding in. And you're feeling things.
Right.
You're actually feeling instead of finding something to numb it with. You know. So,
do you think that you were trying to numb anything specifically, or was it just like a wind down kind of thing? I know you said. I know you said like you know,
subconsciously, you know, some people have it like that. But you know, long day of work, stress, the life
honestly,
that we're living.
You know, I'll be very honest. That's why I have this right now. It's been such a really like rough patch of in the insurance industry, and really trying to figure out how to navigate in. You know, money isn't, I won't say money, the money's not the issue, but the company stuff, the business stuff, like it's very easy to just crack it open, have a drink, go chill out, you know what I mean? And normally I do it at night, but I'm doing it for, you know, right now we're having this talk. It is something that I'd like to kind of just take the same approach that I did with weed, you know. I did dry January. I did this little like some ice short series.
I was going to ask that. Yeah.
So the thing is with dry January, I started to feel like I was doing it because it was like this social thing that people do in January. And for me, I wanted to make sure that if I'm going to stop, I'm going to stop it intentionally, not because of dry January. I should just be stopping in general. So I went 2 weeks and it got to a point I'm like, yo, I'm just going to have a drink. Like, so do I... Going back to what I said earlier, I don't feel bad about that decision. What I feel silly about is broadcasting it. I was broadcasting it on a podcast format. I did a couple solo episodes about it. And I had some people tell me like, hey, you know, I was like kind of disappointed that you cracked open a beer after saying, and again, I don't know if it's just a selfish thought, but like I'm kind of unapologetically, I chose to do it because like I actually enjoy beer, but it is me saying that I enjoy beer a mask for a different reason. Maybe it's I don't know, but I don't really think that outside of just like the stress, like it felt good to crack it open and have a drink, you know, that initial drink. I'll have like a beer or two and kind of that's, I don't go crazy, but it's still drinking, right? You're still doing, it's like smoking a bowl or a blunt or a joint or whatever the case might be.
Everything in moderation, of course.
Yeah.
I don't live a moderate life. Everything I do kind of hard. And, like you were saying, you're unapologetic about having your beer.
Mm-hmm.
If I had one right now, I would be not happy with myself.
Yeah.
And it's because I've come so far.
Yeah. Right. Right.
It started out with a month. I'm probably like at 10 months now.
Congratulations.
And I'm excited to get to a year. Yeah. And people are like, how long are you going to keep this up?
Yeah.
Because I could crack a beer right now.
Sure. That's strong. See, I think that was my whole premise of doing Dry January. I was trying to be disciplined in an area that I knew I had a hard time with.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, man, I feel powerful.
Yeah, that's great.
We go out for drinks, and would you like anything to drink?
Yeah.
I say I don't drink, and I kind of flex, and it's it's so natural for us as society. That's a part of society. It's what you do at celebrations, at holidays. You go out after work, hopefully not before work like some people do, but for me at this point, I wanted to get to a year, but I realized I wasn't going to celebrate a year with a drink, Yeah. And now that I've come this far, I plan on sticking with it.
Good for you.
It really does feel powerful because not everybody can do it. There are people that, have to go on programs and they'll die before they change their ways. And
damn, that's crazy. I'm not there.
You're fine, man. And it's not for everybody, but I do hope that, I've talked to other people, about it, and they're like, yeah, I kind of want to do it. And I think it's great that you're doing it. And, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
But if you can.
What was that process like? Like, did you have any support? Like with,
yeah, I have all the support in the world. Really, it was a decision for myself. And, you were talking about the discipline. I really like, the idea of fighting something that is so easy to do. You just crack one open and sip it.
Yeah, man. Geez. And I think that when my daughter comes any day now, literally like could happen right now in the middle of the show, it's going to force me to stop for a little bit because I'm like, what am I going to do? Like have a beer in between like helping Claire with the baby. And actually the mindset was like, I'm going to take this approach into the thing is like you said, like, I mean, we host a lot of things like New Year's, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Memorial Day, 4th of July. And that's all it's there. It's like just in front of it. It's there, and it's crazy because it's a little vulnerable to me of like, it sounds like a problem. And I don't think I have a problem when it comes to alcohol and whatnot. And again, it's usually beer. It's never like I know people who like just sit there and sip bourbon or whiskey or tequila.
That was more me.
And and like mixed drinks. Like if you saw me out, if we go to Blue Duck or anywhere, like what's Paul having? It's a beer. But I think it goes back to earlier. It's like is it social pressure that I'm putting on myself? Is it am I worried about what my wife thinks or my family member thinks or a friend thinks? Like what is that like for men in general? Because I do think not just drinking, but anything that people deal with. There's other sorts of addictions that men deal with, and other battles like skeletons that men deal with, and how they handle it is how they handle it, and it's. I would like to see. More men. I asked somebody, I won't say their name, but I asked somebody like, what is it? I think I asked you this. It was very funny, your response to it, because I wasn't expecting the response. And I said, Claire, do you think he was trolling me on this response? And I asked you, I don't know if you remember what you said. I said, what do you struggle with? Do you remember what you said?
I said, how much time you got?
No. You said, I struggle with those little ice cube tray things.
Yeah. And I told you peeling the cheese. Yeah. And maybe that was like a deflection, to joke it off because I struggle with a lot, man. But as men, we got to be strong. We got to put on, we hold a lot on our shoulders.
Yeah. But is strong saying hold the weight and not let it go though? You know what I mean? Like even in prayer, and we can go into this direction, but even in prayer, I obviously I believe in God. And in prayer, my prayer more so of gratitude and being thankful of everything that I have and praying for other people. I don't really pray for things for me. But even in prayer, when it comes to like, God, I'm anxious, help me go through this, or I'm feeling stressed about X. And you kind of just go on. And this is not a doubt of God. I know God has worked many, many ways in my life, and very positive ways in my life. But you still have to do in life, right? We have the will. We are in control. And yes, while the Creator has plans for us, we still are in control. We move. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to have a drink. I'm going to grab this mic. I'm going to bring it closer.
Gave you free will, man.
Gave me free will.
If he didn't, it was already planned out. 100%.
There's no God.
He gives you those choices, and life's all about choices.
For sure.
And to touch on when you pray, I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah.
At night when we pray with the kids and before dinner and stuff, talk about what we're thankful for. Mm-hmm. But when I'm stressing, I pray. I ask him for help.
Yeah.
I ask for a lot of help.
When you pray and you ask for help, what do you feel when you're praying it, and what happens after?
It's a release, because when you believe that he's going to help you, mm-hmm. You have a power. You have that superpower, and he can give you strength.
Yeah.
On the way here, I was like, all right, like you were talking about, I'm anxious.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm in a rush. I'm a little bit stressed. I want to be in a good mindset going
mm-hmm.
into this. He made me feel better.
Yeah.
For sure. And if I didn't have him to ask for help, I wouldn't be as strong as I am. I wouldn't be able to deal with everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, I don't doubt God. I go through these weird phases with God, man. And it's not even a function of what God, does. It's really just me. Like, there's a book that I've told a couple people to read, and I've read it a bunch of times. It's called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. I just posted a screenshot of it like a day or two ago. And the idea of it is Napoleon Hill gets the devil to confess his ways of basically distracting and causing people to drift. And the devil in the book says, out of 100 people, the devil says that 98 of them will get distracted or drift. And he uses drifting, and people drift in multiple ways. He uses media. He uses big celebrities. He uses politicians. One of the things I love that Dorothy said on her show is that she doesn't watch the news. And I was like, what? Like, I don't follow any of that stuff. Like there's nothing that comes from it for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I, disconnected in that way. But, touched on the devil. Do you want to be the 98 or do you want to be the 2?
So, of course I want to be the 2. I'm at, so I'm like about 3/4 of the way through the book. And of course I want to be the 2. I think that the drifting is what he calls it. He called it a hypnotic rhythm, which I thought was very interesting. It's almost very autonomous in how we operate. And once we get into this hypnotic rhythm, it becomes this almost like impossible to snap out of certain ways. And it's basically our habits of what we do. I haven't gotten to the part, surprisingly, I haven't gotten to the part of like, I'm sure there's a way to snap out of it, but do I want to be the 2%? Of course I want to be the 2%, but it requires a lot. The Bible says much is required, to much who is given. So if you're given a lot, you're also going to require a lot. And that's just every day. The Bible also says too, which I read in Matthew, and I guess this is part of why I think that my relationship with God, it goes through like these things, because I just stopped reading the Bible completely. But the gospel in the book of Matthew says, wide is the gate to destruction and narrow is it to what is that? God, narrow is the gate to success, or can't remember off the top of my head, but wide is the gate to destruction. And it's very easy. That's like such a real verse. Like, it's very easy to have 5 of these and get behind the wheel, and then that's opening up the gates for disaster. You know what I'm saying? But it's just a mental struggle. I think people in general that deal with, but I think men for sure.
Yeah, I agree. While you're talking, I was thinking of a quote. course, I'm spacing out right now, but you know, like you ask, why is the devil attacking me? And you know, it's because, you know, maybe we're part of that 2%.
Yeah.
And they say that thieves don't rob empty houses. That was the quote I was thinking of. And I like that because, you know, if you're already on that path, if you're already succumbing to the things the devil's trying to get you to, he's got you.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're maybe you're that 2%, you know, he wants to take you. You're the powerful one.
Yeah.
He wants to pull you back down into those, you know,
yeah,
those wicked ways.
Yeah, man. Listen, I it's just so what's difficult for me is because I enjoy so many things of the flesh, which the beer, the music, the things that in what he described in the book are the items that keep people from staying the course. They keep them from. I just enjoy it, and that's why. Like, it's this battle, man. It's a real battle, you know. And again, I think that your concept or your experience with just saying, you know what, I'm not going to drink anymore. You probably dealt with similar things then and even now, and it's just a weird feeling. It really is, man. When you think about you, like, you ever look back and be like, man, 5 years ago I was this person.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we just celebrated our 4th birthday as a business.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like I said, I just celebrated my daughter's 5th birthday.
Right.
And if you get the Facebook memories, you know, these memories come up and you go, man, that was only 3 years ago. That was look where I was.
Crazy.
5. Yeah. And the growth that the company has had in, you know, the past 4 years has been exponential. Yeah. So you got to remind yourself, like, look how far you've come.
Right.
And it's not always easy to do that because I'm not always looking backwards. I'm looking forward.
Sure.
The other thing I was thinking about, I wanted to kind of discuss is, you know, like you're grateful and you're comfortable and you're happy with where you're at, which is great to be, right? But I'm also constantly trying to move forward and get better.
Right.
And it's such a weird balance because you can't have both. Like, even though I do,
right,
I have so many great things and everything's so great, but I want to be better,
right,
you know,
right.
And
it's like golf.
Not for me.
Where's that come from then?
Yeah, so like happiness is fleeting. It's like,
it's fleeting.
How can I be happy but always want more? But if I don't want more, then I'm not happy.
But what is happiness to you?
Well, the simple answer is your kids laugh. And I can hear your kids. Their foot's up, their feet pitter-patting around upstairs.
And
meanwhile, they can drive you crazy. Right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
my son is obsessed with Pokemon right now, and it's like, dude, all right, I love you, bro. I love you. I love you, and I already told you who Charmander turns into and who like Charmeleon turned into 1,000 times, but I love it, bro. I do. And so yes, they make me happy, 100%. So what's the opposite of happy?
Sad.
So are we
angry?
Okay. So are we? I feel like I'm I don't know, man. My brain works so different these days. Like, I feel like there's not a lot that gets me mad. I get mad, like, you know, but there's not a lot, like, not that severely mad. I think a lot of that comes from, you know, I forgave my father, my biological father, internally, like when I was young, 18 years old, or however old I was at the time. And I just never been able to latch on to grudges or anything like that. There's a lot of things that have happened in the last, like, 2 years. I can't disclose exactly what, but to the person that did something to me that could have impacted a lot of different things, I forgave him.
It seems like there's power in that, man.
Like, bro, like I did.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that, like, right away, like, it was like, this sucks. I hate that this happened, but I forgive you. I don't have a relationship with that person, but if I saw them, I would embrace the person, like, them with a hug. like real, like, I love you. So for me, you know what I get mad at? I get mad at like people's insurance canceling for silly things like the roof shingle came off or whatever. Like that upsets me because like, man, that's that. But you know, I don't know, man. It's weird. It's a weird. I operate in almost like it's on a day to day, almost like, and this has changed because my perspective has changed, and a lot of it has to do because of politics. Like, I'm not a political person, but I enjoyed following politics pretty much over the last 8 years. And when I saw how I felt for 4 years about one candidate, and then the next 4 years how someone else felt about that candidate, they were the same feelings, but just for different candidates. So I just thought to myself, like, man, this is kind of bullshit. Like, a lot of this is just BS. You know what I mean?
I think it's back to those distractions of the devil.
Yeah, 100%. So it changed my perspective a lot. I still have my ideas that I believe in, but I get less worked up about them. And during COVID, I got worked up about a lot of stuff. That was like my real test of, I don't even say real test. I was just exposed to a lot of information, as everybody was during that time. Like, it was very polarizing. And I mean, we see to this day, it's still pretty polarizing on different ideas. So now with all that, like, I'm more at ease about different things. So, but yeah, going back to like, you know, happy and sad, but like, what do you do when you feel sad? Obviously you pray, you say, you know, whatnot, but like, do you get sad? Like, do you feel like you get down on different things? You don't have to get specific unless you want to.
You know, all the feelings, you can't have them without each other.
Correct.
You know, you can't, like, was it John Lennon's like, you know, my goal in life is to be happy.
Right.
It's like, you can't just be happy.
Right.
You know, you got to feel all of it. And if you don't ever feel sad, you won't know what it's
Correct.
like to truly feel happy.
The other can't exist without the other.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's a black without white, tall without small. You know, you got to have one without the other.
Mm-hmm.
And back to it, life would be really boring if it was just happiness all the time.
For sure.
What do you compare it to?
Right.
And so there's highs and lows, and you know, emotions. It's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
I think I'm a pretty happy guy.
Yeah.
I have so much to be grateful for. I have such a great life, and like I said, I give thanks to him all the time. Of course. But it's so much easier to focus on those negatives
100%.
that come in, because like,
very interesting.
Yeah, there's so much that you're grateful for, but then, and you're having this great life, and then this one little thing comes out. It's like, hey, you messed up my happiness a little bit. And it's so easy to focus on that instead of reminding yourself of all the great things that you have. And when that happens, you know, something negative comes in, the devil, I do remind myself all of everything that's so great going on.
Yeah, I had a really bad day, actually. So I'll take back this, like, things don't bother me, because it was very unorthodox. It was everything in the world was not going in the insurance world. I'll say, I won't say like things at the house, or it was really the insurance world, and it was pissing me off. Every single thing. I couldn't write this policy. I couldn't do this. This policy canceled. I can't help this person. What's going on? This insurance carrier did this, and I felt like, yo, this sucks. And I was talking to one of my coworkers, and I said, yeah, this is a really bad day, and I haven't reacted this way. Like, you could see it in my face. You could hear it in my voice. Like, I was very frustrated. But that was the first day that I had like that in a year. So I actually came home, and I told Claire the next day, like, it's crazy how much different you feel when a day just passes. Because I after the day, I'm like, man, I'm good. Like, it didn't. So those are the moments that I try to latch on to, right? Not to what's happening, but how I felt the day after what happened. So whenever things come up, that I think that's why I have this mindset of like things don't really bother me, is because one, I forget how, like, those moments don't happen that much. When they happen in those moments, I'm like, yo, this is like, my head's gonna explode. But then I like have to remind myself, like, do you remember when you felt like this on that day? Yeah, it sucked, but the next day everything was okay. And when you think about it from a reality standpoint, like, it's all just in our head. Like, a lot of it's just in our head.
Yeah.
You know, I think the best thing that in prayer is probably the way, and I know a lot of people who meditate, a lot of people do like cold baths, and they do a bunch of different things that help the mind. But I think for me, I haven't found yet what that balance is, because in moments of stress, like, I'll do really well, but I haven't found out what that balance is. So I think ultimately it's like, I want to know what works for certain men, and not just like, oh yeah, you know what, just do all the hard things first. Just do the cold plunge, go run outside in, you know, whatever, the David Goggins approach. I said it to somebody, you know, what is the answer that we are seeking? Because I think we're seeking something, you know, like you said, the more, we're seeking something more. And why, like, I love everything that I've built, but why? Like, where's this?
Why isn't that good enough?
Yeah.
Why can't you just be happy with that? You know,
but I am happy.
You are, but you want more. So
yeah,
you just want to be happier.
Yeah, man, it's a weird. This is a weird time, and the best part of it, and I'll say this from a really optimistic for listeners, is that I'm here for the ride, man. Like, I'm actually okay with figuring this out and going through the process of the pain, going through the process of the stress, going through the process of the anxiety, because I find more growth in allowing myself to go through processes than trying to avoid. Now, here we go. We go back to this, right?
Well, if you're avoiding it, you're not growing. You're putting it to the side. One of the things I wanted to say was, you know, the only easy day was yesterday. What do you mean? I say that all the time to my guys. You know, oh, man, today was a hard day. I say the only easy day was yesterday. Yeah. And the reason that it was easy is because you made it through, and that was yesterday. Right. And you're now on to the next one. Right. You know, so I find a lot of power in that. Yeah. Another one, a lot of folks say, they see me come in after, you know, a long day, and they go, oh, was it a long day? I say, they're all 24 hours. You know, you got to remind yourself of these things that, you know, keep on chugging, man. And you talk about, you know, reflection. Mm-hmm. I think reflection's super important.
I love reflecting.
And you're reflecting on how that stress made you feel. Yeah. And that's where the growth is, by thinking about it, you know. How could I change how I reacted to be better? Why did I feel that way? Right. You gotta have those internal talks.
Right. I do all the time. You know, I've gotten really good with, like, because you can feel anxiety, the energy of anxiety. You can really feel it. Like, it's not like I'm anxious or I'm like, you literally can feel, like, right here, like in your, like, and then just like between here and here, you can feel what that is. It's weird, right? Because it's an emotion, but it's almost a tangible emotion.
It's a physical feel. Yeah, like your heart rate rises. Yeah,
and you can feel it. When I do that, when I start to feel like that, I have to instantly tell myself, okay, what was I just thinking about that caused this anxiety? That works really well for me. I'm not gonna lie, that really works the best. And I'll even say, like, it's easy for me to pinpoint where it comes from. And I'll just use an example, like, well, you know, if, man, that's just very, very, very simple. I'll use a very easy example. Oh my gosh, I have people showing up to my house in an hour. I didn't clean. I didn't do this. And then I still wouldn't clean, and I still wouldn't do whatever I needed to do. And then I'll step away and, like, do something else. I'm like, man, why am I feeling anxious? I forgot. So I have to take a step back. I'm like, all right, what is causing this anxiety? All right, it's because I forgot to, I was just thinking about this. Now I have to do it. Thinking with anxiety, and I've talked to a couple people about this, is you just have to tackle it. I really think you have to tackle it. I think you have to go to what's causing it. And if it's, oh, I should have called this person, or again, from a business standpoint of what I've done, or I should have edited this podcast, or I shouldn't have. You need to go right to it. But it's just, it doesn't solve the answers, man. I'm 35. I'll be 36 this summer. You'll be 35.
I'll be 35 in June.
In June. Statistically, that's half our life, man. Statistically, I hope to live well.
I'm going for a third. I'm saying that's a third. We're gonna be around. They say only the good die young. So me and you are gonna live forever, brother.
That's right. But it's a lot, man. I love, like I said, I love having these conversations with men because, we don't talk about it enough, and because we don't have anybody to talk about it with. Like, I could talk to my wife about this stuff. She could be very empathetic about it. And she's very good at helping me when I'm feeling down about certain things. But I feel like and she's very emotionally intelligent. Like, that's the best thing about my wife, is that she's super in tune when it comes to emotion. I'm not whatsoever.
Honestly, that's a man and women thing.
Yeah, for sure.
They definitely are. And my wife, she's amazing. She puts up with me for sure. And she makes me better when she's able to see things from a completely different perspective, the way that I'm seeing things, and we're lucky to have them, man. That's for sure.
Bro, yes, we certainly are.
But even so, they're not going to understand
the weight we put on ourselves.
Correct. And
it's natural, though.
And we're not going to understand them.
No.
But we can find that common ground because we love each other.
Right.
But men and women are different. People want to pretend that they're not, but I am not one of those people.
Love it.
Yeah. We're different. And that, again, I joke around with my best friend Julian. It's like, sometimes it'd be easier if we were just married to each other because we understand each other. And like, maybe I'm glad that, you got to have that opposite. You got to have that yin and yang, man. They balance us out.
Well, for sure. Yeah, there's a good book called it's called The Way of a Superior Man. And it really breaks down that these things that we're discussing right now are actually what they are, masculine traits and feminine traits. We naturally put this from historically have just felt the need to provide. And I think that's what it comes out to, right?
And to protect.
And when we're not, again, with work, and again, I'll just use work, but if we're not with work, the thing is like, I love work. I actually really love my job. I love building relationships. I love everything about it I do. The insurance industry, I don't. But what I do for work in general, I do. But I think that we put this cap on what we need from work, so then it can translate to family, if that makes sense. I need to put in X amount of hours. I need to write X amount of policies. I have the house, we have the business, we need to keep the lights on. So we go so heavily into work mode that it doesn't even give us time to be in the present. And not that we don't want to, like we are there, like we're here right now, or when I go up to have dinner, like I'm in the present, and I really try to have to make sure I'm not thinking about work or thinking about editing a podcast or thinking about whatever. I have to be intentional about that. But I think that I'll just speak for myself. It boils down to, I need to provide, and like you said, and protect. And here we are with this level of stress. What do you want your kids to remember you as? Like, when it's all said and done, man. Again, I hate to be like morbid about it, but you did buy life insurance, so you're good with that. Shout out to you and Jess. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But no, what do you want your kids to remember you as? Because this is a question I think, like, what do I want my kids to remember me as? And it's so hard to define that. So I want to ask you first.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. Really have to think about it. And I have thought about it. I want them to know that I taught them things.
Yeah.
I want them to know that I love them. That I really did love them. I want them to know that I did the best that I could. And, being a parent now, I look back at my parents and I realize that they're just humans going through life the first time, the same way,
Isn't it scary, though, to like just watch it happen just so fast?
It's going way too fast.
And not in like not in a morbid way. The one thing I accept in life is that we're going to go.
I was actually thinking they asked Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
They said, Keanu Reeves, what do you think happens to us when you die?
Yeah.
And he says, the people that love us will miss us very much. You know?
Yeah.
So I'm not afraid of dying either, man, but you do. And then why are you afraid of losing the people you love? You know, maybe it's your parents, your grandparents. It's because
you love them.
Right. And you're going to miss them.
Right.
You know?
Them. Yeah.
And I want my kids to miss me.
Yeah. There you go.
I want them to, even when they get older, I want them to be part of my life.
Yeah.
I want them to know that Dad was there for them.
Right.
Dad worked very hard for us, but still made time for us.
My son's going to kindergarten in August, and your daughter is too, right?
Oh yeah.
I don't, man. The level of influence that's gonna come, like that's it. This is it. Like Claire sent me this video. It was like from 0 to 7 is like the years that you have with them, and then from that on, it's the rest is influence. And you obviously, you know, they look up to you because they're your parents. There's a guy. Do you know who Patrick Bet-David is? He's a podcaster I listen to. He came from Iran and in like '89 or whatever, and he's built this like conglomerate of a business. But he really takes pride in America as an American who immigrated to this country. But he said that there's 3 phases that children go through, and I think about this all the time.
I know what you're gonna say.
He goes, first, they idolize you, then they demonize you, and then they humanize you. That if there's anything that sticks with me as a parent is that right now I'm in the they idolizing me phase. I don't know when that demonization phase is gonna come, but that scares me a little bit because that's where the work is gonna begin. The discipline. What do you mean you're gonna do? Like I don't know what that's like. I don't know what it's like, and I don't know what it's like as a husband. I don't know what it's like as a father. I don't know what it's like as a person. Like I don't know what it's gonna be like, especially because I didn't have a dad to discipline me. You know what I mean? So that's like the hardest thing to think about. But man, like it's going fast. It's going fast.
Yeah.
And again, the idea is just I want them, and I love your response. You just want them to know that you love them. I kind of just want them to look at me as like, just say my kids is like someone who really worked incredibly hard. You know, I look at my mom. My mom worked as hard as she could to make sure that me and my sister Nadine had what we had. And you know, I thank her for putting the priority in the children. I think in me and my sister. And I think when we just even are unpacking all of this, when we're talking about what it is that we need to do, I feel like when we think anything other than work or family, we feel we beat ourselves up on we're not prioritizing the right things. And it's just such a weird like dichotomy of like what's the right answer? Is it therapy? Do you go to therapy, by the way?
No.
Therapy?
I've been told I need to.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
Have you met me? No. Other people in my life, it's worked well for them, and
I think I need to tap into it, man. I'm not gonna lie. I need to tap into it.
Like I told you when I left the podcast last time, this is therapeutic to me.
Yeah, for sure.
I do have my confidant, Julian. Me and him have our therapy sessions, have therapy sessions with my wife.
That's great.
Therapy sessions with God. When I told you I went to see Jordan Peterson,
right.
It was like,
by the way,
I'm taking it. I gotta finish it in a month.
Yeah.
I'll make that my goal. I appreciate it. I'll get it back to you to pass it on the next guy.
I mean, and knowing Jordan Peterson, it is. I'm not. How do I say this? It's dense with a lot of information. It's good, but it's very dense. So take notes. Have it for however long you need because it's just sitting on here. I'm reading other stuff, but sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, you're good. I think you got to have therapy sessions with yourself too.
Yeah.
Those talks, those reflections.
I've been journaling. I
can imagine that helps.
It just started. So the thing is, like, I've been writing, but like with writing, I feel like my thoughts aren't all like they're all over the place or it just shuts down. So what I did is I downloaded this app called Notion. And it's literally actually like a planner. It has a bunch of different things that I could do. And there's a journaling segment in there. And like every day it's like add a new journal. So I just been typing it in. And it's just so much free. Like it's because I can type and think much faster than I can write and think. So I feel like it's just easy for me to do it. So I've been doing that. It's only been a couple of days that I've been doing it. But I'm going to continue to do it. I'm like, that's one thing that I'm making sure that I do on a daily basis is just type for however long. So I'll pop on some earbuds, listen to some like chill music, and then just go. And bro, like, it's so therapeutic. It's so therapeutic. I enjoy doing it. But yeah, man, life is good though. Listen, I will always embrace anxiety with just acceptance that it's part of life. Because it is.
It is.
There's not a person in this world who just lives anxiety free. And if you do, listen, tap in.
Yeah,
I want to.
I mean, if they are, they're probably not living a very, like promising, powerful life, like you were touching on.
I got a question for you, and we'll both answer this, because I think there's a question that like when I think of interviews or this is more conversations. Last time was more of like interview. I think
it was more conversation.
I think
me and you just have the rapport,
right,
and
so this is still the same feel. All right,
yeah,
good. But the question I have, and I'm interested in seeing how you answer it, is what would you tell your younger self? That's something that I struggle with, and I'm curious on your perspective. I want to unpack that here, and then we'll wrap up in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, what I would tell my younger self, you can look back and go, oh man, I should have done this, I should have done that, but if you didn't make those mistakes, you wouldn't be where you're at.
Sure.
So I'm grateful for all that. And, if we had a time machine, go back and change A, B, and C. Yeah. If I changed any of that, I wouldn't be who I am to this day. For sure. I wouldn't have what I have. If I went back and changed certain things, certain paths, I wouldn't be married to my wife. I wouldn't have my kids. So as much as I can see where you're going with that, I don't want to change anything.
Okay.
I am so happy and accepting of what this all is and where I've come, and all the bad things that I could go back and change. Mm-hmm. It led me to this path. So
yeah. So I guess I'm not saying it in a sense of change per se.
Just more like advice.
But more of advice or preparation. Like if there was something that you wish you could tell yourself to prepare for as 35-year-old CJ, and let's just say 18-year-old CJ who graduated high school, was wrestling, and then whatever happened from 18 to 30 when you met your wife 5-6 years ago. You guys been
no man,
while,
it's
right?
coming up on 10.
Yeah,
man.
Sorry, Jesse.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. we got to remind ourselves that.
Yeah. We're coming up on 12. Yeah,
man,
12.
We're getting old, bro.
It's wild, bro.
Yeah.
I feel young though. Don't you feel still like you're like
oh yeah,
internally feel like 18? I've been aching though, like my knees, my calves, like weird forearm pain. I'm like, man, like this hurts, like for no reason. Like I would just wake up.
My body hurts every day.
Yeah, well, you're doing a lot. I shouldn't be hurting. I'm sitting here on a computer all day. Like you're like actually doing like real work.
I got back into jiu-jitsu.
Oh, did you?
Back on the mat. Yeah.
Nice.
So
Good
I've been Mondays and Wednesdays. I've been getting on the mat, and I've been coaching youth jiu-jitsu.
Sweet.
And my daughter's doing it. My son's doing it. So it makes me feel young again.
Yeah, awesome.
It's I could still hang with them young bucks. I'm not as the young spring chicken that I was, but man, I still got it, bro.
Yeah. That's what
you got to remind yourself too. You got to put yourself in situations like those hard physical days where you go battle with somebody, go face someone that's younger than you. And you're like,
that's what I did with baseball last year. I played in a wooden bat league. It was 35 and up, but like some of those guys still play like pretty consecutively in like our. I mean, I think one dude was throwing like 85 miles per hour. Like it's crazy. I could still hit. I can't throw. I tore my rotator cuff in college, but I can't throw. And I would still try. Like I would try to pitch, and like I would go throw 60, 70 pitches. And as a baseball player, like you can't just not pitch for 10 years and then go try to throw 70 pitches without any like training and getting yourself. But yeah, I mean, I still feel like I'm young, and I do remind myself, like I do things like bowling, golf, and like I physically feel young, but then I get those aches and pains. I'm like, dog, I'm getting
yeah,
old.
but I think you're saying that, like spiritually. that you feel. Like you
Yes,
asked me
yeah,
about,
yeah.
know, that you can see the passion and like my work, and when I have fun, you see the videos and
Yeah.
stuff, and
Yeah.
holding on to being like a child.
Yeah.
And you'd be able to quote this better, but I'm pretty sure in the Bible it says, something along the lines of when you get to heaven, he kind of judges you on, you would know better. We'll look it up, but gotta
Cliff notes, because
be as children.
Be like childlike, because children don't know anything.
And they're innocent and
they're
pure.
very innocent and pure, and even when they say no, I didn't do this, but when they did, they don't realize that they're lying. They're just like, there's more of like an anxiety or fear that comes in, and that taps into, that they tap into.
So I got to ask, what's the advice that you would give young Paul?
Young Paul, if I was giving 18-year-old Paul advice, stay focused, man. Obviously in my 20s, I don't think about things. You just run really out of, like, things are just going. And even to this day, that's not even like a 18-year-old Paul thing. Like I said, I still feel like I'm 18. Like it's staying focused on what matters, and just be open communication. Like I didn't know how to communicate. I've learned more how to communicate in this last like 2 years. I mean, this year podcasting, being a husband, kids, all that. This podcast has allowed me a level of communication that I never even would have thought on. Like, I can have hour-long conversation with somebody in person. Like, that doesn't happen for a lot of people. But I would say just stay focused, and don't the distractions. Like, a lot of the distractions that I had happened to be because of selfish needs, but it also there's a guy, his name is Ed Milet, and he says something very, very thought-provoking. He says, how do we not know that the way we are is just, the genetics are just even before we're born. A lot of people like to blame trauma and blame not having a dad and blame like whatever external things. Like, can't we just accept that that's just how we were born? Or it could just be just like things from, our past. And it made me think like, man, like, so yeah, very, to your point, it's hard to be like, what would you say? Because I still have a lot of young tendencies of when I was younger. But I think the biggest thing would just be stay focused. And, I thought for me, like, I said this to Jose, I think Jose Matias Rojas, was a great dude, and he ministers, but I said, for the longest time, even after I graduated college, I was like, yeah, I'm playing professional baseball, but I never put in the work. I never stayed focused. I think when I think of what I would tell my younger self, it's like what I'm going to try to tell my kids, and teach them is like, there's things that are going to matter and things that are not going to matter. And you need to pick which ones matter to you most. And I hope that it resonates, but kids are not taught. They catch things. They catch things before they're taught. So, just even think from like an insurance standpoint, when I was doing the driving school stuff in East Lyme, there was a statistic that children who witness their parents on their phones while they're driving will likely get into an accident because they see their parents on the phone while they're driving. So that's a caught behavior. It wasn't taught to them. They just saw their parents doing it. It was normal, so they were doing it. So, I try to be mindful of like, now that my son is at this phase, I'll just use my son, and my daughter's still on the baby side of 2 going into 3. So her brain, she's spicy, by the way, but she is so spicy. She loves me. She's starting to get there with me. But my son, I'm starting to see with him, things are even just like watching a movie on Disney the other day where he realized it's a movie called Ferdinand. It's about a bull.
Yeah, man, Ferdinand the bull, bro.
Yeah, just so in the beginning of the movie where he realizes his dad doesn't come back, Camden asked about it. He's like, what happened to his dad? He wouldn't have asked that a year ago. So now he's starting to form and like think a little bit with curiosity. And I think it's the struggle is trying, not even the struggle, but it's just like I love that he's thinking on a curiosity level. Like he was like, this is making me feel sad. You know, he understood what happened. So now like in these years, it's like, all right, here we are. You know, this is the time. What I didn't have is now for the time for me to shine. So yeah, man, it's a ride, bro. It's a ride. It certainly is a ride. Stay focused is what I would tell me, and I think I want my kids to really embrace, because I wasn't a focused kid. And it's crazy because you see how I move and things that I do. Like I go into focus spurts, but like I don't have like this tunnel vision focus. Like I don't know what the next move is for after, you know, we have the kid, the baby. Like there's like always things like 5-year plan, 10-year plan. Like I don't know what that is.
Were you ever diagnosed with ADHD?
I was recently diagnosed with ADHD.
Yeah, I was very young.
I was recently diagnosed with ADHD in October. Because I was telling my doctor, I'm like, man, there's just a lot of things that just like not really clicking. So that has helped understanding that a little bit. That this is why I am the way I am. You know, the one thing that I've been able to leverage is when I'm hyper focused on something like the podcast or the content creation, or that's what I need to tap into the most. And I hate to say it, like it does take away from work and stuff, but that's the stuff that I'm most passionate about.
I've learned that ADHD is a superpower that I have. When I was in middle school, that's when I got diagnosed, and throughout high school, putting me in a classroom, it just wasn't what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I've learned to use it like as a business owner.
Yeah.
You know, I can't focus on one thing. I have 100 things going on, and I'm able to think about all of them simultaneously.
It's crazy, right?
I was listening to a podcast and someone was touching on that. You know, we have a hunter-gatherer gene, in that the hunter, men or just human beings, but men, because the men were the hunters, the women were the more so the gatherers. But as a hunter, like your head's got to be on a swivel. You got to be scanning the room. You have to be paying attention to everything at once, because once it hits the fan, you got to be ready to go. Right. And for me, it's a superpower. But it's very hard to focus on things that you're not passionate about. But when you find something you're passionate about, you get that tunnel vision, 100%, and you can just attack any problem. Like when I'm cutting down a tree, I'm 50 feet up in the air, maybe more. Got a chainsaw, and I have all these things going on in my head, but when I'm up there, it's not happening. When I was wrestling, when I'm snowboarding, all that goes away because I'm hyper focused on what I'm doing. Yeah. But if you put me somewhere and I'm not interested, there's no possible way 100%. That I could focus. It's just not.
That's how I got good at bowling, because that's actually funny that you say that. So on the hyper focus side, I'm hyper focusing on my content that I'm creating outside of the podcast, just things that I'm doing. But one of the videos that I'm working, I'm going to spoil a little bit, but I'm not going to give too much of it, is a ADHD video. And in the video, it's going to be multiple versions of me at my dining room table, and it's going to be me here, doing different things, trying to learn bowling, golf, baseball, podcasting. But the idea is that I have ADHD. Like I know I have ADHD now, and I didn't know that. Like I really didn't know that. But yeah, I got good at bowling. I'm not a great golfer, but I've gotten like good enough that I can like play with a group of guys and stuff like that. I've figured out how to podcast. I have all this set up. Obviously, shout out to Claire for helping me with that. You know, all of the things that are in place now and things that I do, like I've hyper focused on. And it's hard to hyper focus on work. Even snowboarding, for the life of me, Claire's parents have a house up in Loon, and when I started dating her, they're like, yeah, you gotta learn how to snowboard or ski. This is what we do all the time. So, and I did. But dude, I was falling all the time, like on the bunny slope, like taking out little kids, like the whole thing. Like it was crazy. But I kept telling myself, like, I'm gonna figure this out. And I figured it out in like 2 days. Like from what I heard, this snowboarding is harder to learn, and it's easy to master, harder to learn is what I think they said. But I would literally be falling on my butt, but I never knew that it's because I had this mind of like things that I actually was really passionate and cared about. I locked in. So, bro, this was good.
Yeah, man.
Really appreciate it. I think we were very vulnerable here. I think maybe me. I ended up tapping into a little bit vulnerable side here.
Good.
But this was a very good. CJ, Satti. People already know where to find you. They can go back to the other episode if they want to find that. But you got anything else you want to say?
Well, if you want to find me, www.sattiesfamilytrees.com. Find us at sattiesfamilytrees.com or Satti's Family Trees Instagram.
Yep.
We're on Facebook.
Sweet.
We're on Google. Check us out on Google. 215 5-star reviews, man.
Oh, 215.
Yeah,
Nice.
that
I
was
gotta catch
again
up to
in
you.
three or 4 years.
I gotta catch up to you. I'm at 176.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, I got to start putting it out there so you can't catch me.
I put it out to everybody I write. I send them a nice little video and then drop the link that says, hey, just click it, just give me a review, and I let them know. So, CJ, I appreciate it. This was good, man. We'll have to do it again.
Yes.
Have you on
yes.
as I haven't had anybody on. Actually, David Cruz is the only person that's been on for a third time. But outside of that, I haven't had anybody else on a third time. So we'll get you back on.
Beautiful.
Appreciate it, bro.